Mic check 1 2, and we are live in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Welcome everybody to episode number 6, Break Free Worldwide headquarters, live from Houston, Texas. Joining us today, Mr. Straight Up Raw himself, Lil John.
Yeah.
What's up, my friend?
What up,
Little
what up?
Juan.
What's going down?
Chilling
Second War, represent.
all day.
Man,
Yo.
we're super excited to
Yeah,
have
man,
you
we're
here, bro.
we're super
Yeah,
hyped. Look
so-
at that. Y'all see that?
Yeah.
That's the second war, straight out of H-Town.
Moving
I
on.
wouldn't have
The
got
only-
it like 10 years ago, but
How did your wife feel about that?
it's probably the only thing in my life that she didn't like.
I would have to disagree. That's
I
not
wanna
the
ask-
only thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask her after the
Currently.
show.
Recently, right? Recently, the,
So
the one thing she got mad at.
You've been good lately, right? Good track record recently with her.
Yes,
Okay.
she didn't leave me.
I remember at one point you told me that she unfollowed you on Instagram. Is that
Yeah,
true?
She unfollowed me on Instagram, and I gave her about a month. I made her wait.
Oh, you made her wait.
Before you accepted it, you
Yeah,
got that
before-
Before she accepted it.
Yeah, I would
man.
send her like a screenshot,
Yeah.
like I didn't accept you yet.
Damn.
And then I did it on Facebook.
It's pretty.
I mean,
It's
and-
pretty.
yeah,
It's pretty crazy. Like when your wife unfollows you.
Yeah.
Like you must have done something pretty
It's
crazy.
serious, yeah.
Modern day problem.
But it was
Yeah.
having to do with breaking, so that's interesting.
Millennial issues.
So, if you're joining us, this is Mr. Lil John himself. Most of you guys are familiar. If not, let them know how long you've been dancing, John. Kind of like a short story, short summary of your career as a b-boy.
Well, I've been dancing for 24 years now, going on 24 years. I started in 1994. I'm not quite sure what month it was, but yeah, it's been since then. And since then, just kind of stuck with it and pushing along, man, keeping it moving.
Well, you started in '94. You started not as a b-boy though, right?
Correct. When I started in 1994, there was still some breaking aspects in Houston, but not really where I was at. Most of it was just like freestyling and hip hop dancers. And so, it's interesting because some people say it's not hip hop dance. So for us, when we said hip hop,
That's how you knew it, right?
that's how I knew it.
Yeah.
But when we did it, we didn't say hip hop because we were ignorant of
Yeah.
the fact that hip hop is like a culture.
It's just what you knew.
We just knew, and for us, it was like a hip hop dance, meaning it was a part of hip hop.
Yeah.
We didn't say it relating to ignorance,
Yeah.
like some studios would do it. And so I started as a freestyle dancer, house dancer. The guys that I saw, that's all that I saw.
And I think it's cool that you mentioned that because I think some people know, but I don't think, especially newer kids nowadays, I don't think they have a clue of like the background of certain dancers, and especially someone like you who's been in the game for a very long time, and like they kind of see you as a
Weird.
they see you as this b-boy, but like you grew up dancing, and I think what we wanted to kind of get into today too is discover all this about you and about Lil John because again they see you as a b-boy. I know it's like a crazy little podcast thing going on, right? But it's just like they see you as a b-boy, but like this is why you're recognized as one of the best dancers, not just one of the best b-boys, but one of the best dancers,
Who said
and
that?
especially like Mr. Wiggle says, a cipher killer. And I think that you're mostly known, even though you've been a competitor, but like I think that you're highly known and mostly known in that world.
For sure.
And I think that
For sure.
a lot of people don't get that credit. So I think that's a special thing to have about yourself,
For sure.
because you come from that dance background and you grew up dancing when competitions didn't exist, and it was just like club after party after party. So I don't know, like
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think. Well, I think I think there was a time when I cared about that, but I think now I don't care about it because things are so much different now.
well, you're old as hell.
Yeah, old as hell. I mean, look at me, like
No, it's-
Jeremy's still like a
Yeah,
tadpole.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we're
Sweet.
full grown tadpoles without the tail.
Yeah,
Without the tail.
frogs. Yeah, frogs.
But yeah, I think now I don't think it really matters to me anymore. But yeah, correct. I mean, you started a little bit after I did, but you were around that as well.
Yeah,
Maybe not so much the freestyle dancing as much, but you still saw it from far
yeah,
off.
for sure.
And so yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think that there are some people who recognize it or remember it, and I think that there are some people who don't. And just like anything else, I think that there are people who care and there's people who just don't care.
Well, it's like, the people that don't recognize it is because they haven't been at an after party with you, or they
For
haven't
sure.
been to a club with you.
For sure.
And a lot of people can take, going clubbing in a very different way. But like, when we've gone or when you've gone and I've seen you go and I've been there with you, it's just like you're just dancing, vibing.
For
You're
sure.
not partying, you're not drinking. Your partying is your dance.
For sure.
And some people have gotten to see that side of you really, really well. I remember one time being in Vegas. I think this was 2010, and you started battling the Geen. And you
at the
guys,
club.
you guys just went for a long time.
And it was house dancing.
Yeah,
too.
and it was house. And see, that's the thing is like you're able to adapt to all these different styles. And
Sure.
again, you come from a different era.
Yeah,
and you're a different breed.
And that's I think that
B-boys.
it's, there's times when you feel like what you know is common sense to people, but I think that sometimes I realize that it's not common sense to everybody. So what you would know is not common sense to everybody else. Same thing with you, Moy.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of times because you're living in the moment. So a lot of times you're not cognizant of the fact that not everybody's gonna know what you know.
For sure.
Because one, they haven't experienced it, they haven't seen it, they weren't around. Some people aren't even born.
Exactly.
But yeah, for me, it started within, dancing in clubs, dancing in ciphers. That's kind of how I started. Or we would battle, in your house.
Yeah.
At YA. That's kind of how we started. So that's kind of something that's been embedded in me. And I think a lot of times that's why I cannot relate to the newer generation. Not so much that I don't support it, or I just can't relate to it as much because I come from a different time.
Yeah, even today though, like I've in the past year or two, whenever you would come to Break Free and train, like you'd battle Jeremy or Palmer for like 20, 30 rounds as part of the training, and it would organically happen. It's not that it was like something that you guys would just say like, hey.
And to me, that's the best part of the practice.
Yeah.
When I used to live in LA, I think that some people would get kind of annoyed with that aspect of me. But I think that other people.
The fact that you battle them every single time you see him.
Yeah, but it was more of a practice.
Straight up raw.
But it was more from a practice perspective, because you get better from battling. I mean.
Well, if I could tell a personal story, like I remember, I started dancing in 2006. So on that topic of like, what? Too young or what?
Yeah, way too young.
Shit, it's about to be 12 years now.
What was that word you just said?
It's about to be Palmer, Moy, and John, and I attribute my sense of battling to you from 2006. You on site, let's go rounds. And one of the earliest memories I have of that is I remember walking into a practice, and I was probably like 6 months into the dance, and I started off with like footwork and threads. I was naturally flexible, So I remember I walked in, and I guess like I thought I was dope, threads, blah blah blah, whatever, and I was practicing. And then you come up to me, and like I was acquainted with you, but not the relationship we have now, of course,
For sure.
And you're like, yo, let's battle. And I was like, okay. And you're like, but just threads only. And like in my mind, I remember in my 6-month-old breaking mind, I was like, oh man, I got John on threads.
Man,
like,
John, you're a bully. 6 months old.
Yeah, but I viewed you as probably as like footwork, and like my 6-month-old mind was like, oh, John don't got threads like I do,
You were in your mind, you were about to smoke John.
Yeah, and then you just completely roasted me with threads. And that was like one of my earliest memories, and then that kind of set the precedent. And I mean, you got footage for days. Remember those? I forgot the name of those little flip video cameras.
Yeah, I
remember those?
Flip.
Yeah,
cams.
they were called flip cams, right?
Flip cams,
Probably like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
That was the times like 2011, 2012 when Break Free was opening.
Yeah.
We had mad footage on those flip cameras of us going like hours.
Yeah, I still have that footage.
Hour, 45 minutes, hours just going at. So I definitely attribute my sense of battling too, and I bet a bunch of people can say that about you.
Yeah, I think that's the best part of the practice, with just kind of 1 hour form, and just going head to head. Because there's no pressure. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to impress nobody. It's kind of like going back to that, like when you started and you weren't tampered with. You haven't been,
staying relevant or trying to make a big name.
Yeah, you're not being compromised.
Right.
So for me, going back to that practice mode is kind of like going back to not being compromised as a dancer, because when you're gonna go compete, you have to compromise.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think that's great. I think that we've known that.
Yeah.
We've known that.
Yeah.
It's a bit different today.
Yeah, we recently talked about that, how it is a compromise, and like
and
it's kind of weird. It is okay, but it's kind of weird because we're trying not to fall into it, because we're freestylers, just like you obviously you have a house background and freestyle dance background, but we're trying not to compromise who we are. And it's hard, I think we lose a lot because we're not conformed to what people want to see. And what we were discussing the other day with Palmer is like this formula that you have to do this and do that and look like this and execute this way, you know? And we've never been that. We've been very spontaneous with what we do.
For sure.
And sometimes it works for us and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it comes from an honest place.
Of
like
course.
we're feeling it and we just go. And it may not make sense to everybody else, but it makes sense to us, you know?
Yeah,
And I
so-
think there's some people that are just not going to get it. And I think
Yeah.
that's okay. And, you know, obviously doing stuff like this, you know, or the things you've done before, you guys have done, or that we've done, it helps the mind,
Mhm.
you know, because it helps the mind opened.
Mhm.
You know, it's like a shutter, you know, it helps it open more. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so I think that there are people that just don't get it because they weren't around, they didn't see it, they didn't
Yeah.
experience it. So all they know is what is today.
Yeah.
So they can only render from today. Or if they started in 2015, they can only render from 2015.
Exactly.
The beauty about it is that there are a lot of people who are hungry. And
Yeah.
that helps because the people who are hungry, they're going to go dig,
Yeah.
you know, and
So do you think it's important that like say if I started today or if Jeremy started today, 2018, right? Do you think it's important for us to go back and dig 10, 15, 20 years?
Before you answer that, your coffee's here. So if anyone knows John, you know his love of
Wait.
Starbucks. Shout out to D-Tex for going and getting his coffee, man. The
I like
real
it.
MVP.
Thank you, sir.
D-Tex, a real
sir.
MVP.
Give it a change.
Yeah.
Shout out D-Tex, John Murder Crew.
That's awesome.
And we'll have him on the podcast soon. But hey, what did you order? Let's hear what you
I
ordered.
ordered
Is your wife, is she gonna approve of this?
she's probably not going to approve because she doesn't approve of this.
So Thirsa, if you're watching now or if you watch
What were you
later,
thinking, bro?
I thought about buying John a coffee, but I decided not to. But when he got here,
He demanded.
he demanded a coffee, and so we got him a
He
coffee. And
demanded it.
so it's his fault, but partially ours.
What is
too,
it?
so.
What is it? I want to hear your order.
So
I see the list. It's so long.
it's kind of like my cheat drink, my I get to live life because, you know, I'm vegan
Uh-huh.
or plant-based.
Shout out to vegans.
You know, I'm yeah, I'm plant-based, not so much vegan because I probably still have a leather wallet. So I'm not LA vegans, you know, I'm like a Texas vegan. So I went from drinking it with milk to drinking it with almond milk.
Mhm.
So it's a grande caramel frappuccino with
Okay.
almond milk,
Okay.
with no whip, no caramel drizzle, double cup because it keeps it colder, and then a sleeve, which I don't
Hey.
have.
You sound
Okay.
very LA
That's
though.
free game.
Yeah, it's
He
very
just
good.
gave y'all free game. That double
Yeah.
cup, keep it colder. Come
Yeah,
on,
man.
baby. Double
You know?
cup, H-Town.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a whole system down for this.
He
I
does
re-
have a system.
I
I've been with
remember-
him when he
but
orders
yeah,
this.
I'm proud of you, bro, because I remember the McFlurries you used to order from Starbucks.
Oh,
These
Lord.
huge,
Mm.
venti.
McFlurries?
Yeah,
it looked like a
from
McFlurry.
McDonald's?
Man.
It looked like a McFlurry.
Yeah.
It was a
Oh yeah, you
milkshake.
downsized big time.
I totally
Yeah.
forgot.
2 sizes down.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Exodus. So what you see right here, John, is the live chat going on, and he's left.
what up, Exodus? Yeah,
He
that's my
said-
boy, man. He's
yeah.
our homie.
He said, "Loved
Good guy.
Warrior." That's the name of your.
That's my real name.
Yep.
Love to warrior.
Amado.
People have no idea about this dude,
Mhm.
and that's why we try and let them know. That's why we
Yeah.
try and let the people know.
Starbucks
You know.
demons.
So let's go back.
So
let's
going
go
back to what
yeah.
you said, do I think it's important? I think it's important. I mean, obviously, you can't force people to do certain things. I don't think that you should force people.
Right.
But I think that as an artist, you know, as a general artist,
We would think it's logical to go back and research.
I think it would be very logical. I think
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense in terms of your dance, in terms of knowledge, in terms
Mhm.
of who came before you. I think that those things are important.
Yeah.
So if I had people, for example, like I have students. I don't talk about them, but I do have students that are around the globe that I talk to, that I keep in touch with,
Mhm.
that I keep accountable, that I send them videos, you know, in terms of to help them.
Yeah.
And those guys, I always tell them, in a girl, I always tell them, you know, seek it, you know, dig. You have
Yeah.
to dig.
Yeah. That's
You
good.
know, me, I've been, you know, we've been dancing around the same time. I'm
Yeah.
24 years,
23 years.
23 years, so around the same time. Even me at 24 years old, I still dig for stuff. And
We have to.
you have to.
Yeah.
And even now, because I've been kind of working on a secret project, it's going to take me about 2 years to finish. It's
Yeah.
going to be a Houston project
Nice.
that I'm working on, but it entails a lot of digging.
Yeah.
And
There
even
you go.
this-
So secret project coming up by B-Boy Lil John.
Yeah,
Now
and
it's here
so
on the podcast first.
and so for the most part, the more I dig, the more I realize that there's a lot of wealth
Yeah, for
in
sure.
terms of hip hop, and we've known that,
Yeah.
you know, which is weird for me even now as we judge breaking battles
Mhm.
and kind of esteemed a little higher because when I started, I already felt late.
Yeah.
In 1994, I already felt late.
Yeah,
I already
same.
felt late, and people consider that now still the golden time or the golden time
Yeah.
of breaking. The
They
90s.
say it was the last best era to come out of breaking. That's what I hear a lot of people say.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm biased, but
Well,
I mean,
to dig
You
deeper
biased?
to dig deeper into that, what specifically like the takeaways from the '90s, early 2000s? Like if you're telling, if you're, because I know you could go on and on and on about it. Like what's different, but what are the main takeaways? Like the things you saw in the mid '90s, early 2000s that you would like to see more of in modern day breaking?
and there's so much, you know. I think that probably one of the biggest things that I would like to see people take from those times to now is just the I don't give a damn aspect, the I don't care mentality. I know for me and Moy when we started, and even when we would go inter competitions, we didn't care. We just wanted to battle for the sake of battling, and I think that's the main component that we can take from then to now. It's just to battle for the sake of battling.
Yeah.
To want to just dance for the sake of dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that you can't have aspirations, you can't have goals.
sure.
Those things are great, and obviously
Yeah.
as you get older, you want to have those things. But
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I took with me is just I just wanted to dance, and
Yeah.
I wanted to battle for the art of battling.
Yeah, because I think you're right. I think most kind of like younger b-boys and b-girls are kind of stuck into this phase where like they are dancing or practicing or training to be world class athletes or competitors. You know what I mean? But I even said it this the other day. It's like, man, you can strip everything away from me. I'll still break in my garage because we come from an era that that's all we know. Yeah, you may see sponsorships and you may see all this, but at the end of the day, it's like we come from an era where we dance just to dance. We battle just to battle. But I agree with you where I feel like a lot of the younger generation is like they're dancing or they're practicing just for the sake of like trying to win titles and things like that. Which is that's fine. We come from a different era. They're from this era. They have more options than we did.
For sure. And just to kind of give more of clarity on what I mean is that, the expression of the dance is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think that when my expression begins to dim, I don't dance as often.
Yeah.
Because that inspiration is gone. So it leaves me, and I go somewhere else to find it. And that's a different story. But I think that the pure expression to want to express something that you have inside you,
Yeah.
however it comes out. And I think that in the 90s, because we didn't have those goals of sponsorship, the goal was to be dope.
Yeah.
The goal was to go to a club, go somewhere, and somebody knew who you were.
And just rip it.
And just rip it. And the concept now of coming up in terms of competition, I can't relate to it. I understand it, but I don't relate to it because that's not how I came up. I came up in a time where I feel old saying that in a time. Long time
you
ago.
are old.
But in a time that I came
Embrace
up, there was come up entering competitions. You came up by going. You found the dopest guy in the club, and then you called him out.
Mm-hmm.
And then people knew that, and then people just began to just know by word of mouth. There was no social media, those type of things.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best ways I've heard it put. Is that back then, the goal was to be dope. Nowadays, the first goal. I mean, of course, people want to be dope, but it's like it's not the first thing,
Yeah, and even I remember, I think it was B-Boy Summit 2001 when competitions were starting to really pick up.
Yeah.
I know after 99 was our major competition, Freestyle Session 99, but
Sure.
when competitions started to pick up, I remember we were entering as much as we could. But I remember specifically 2001, we were like, let's just go to B-Boy Summit 2001. Let's not enter. Let's just battle everybody. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
DJ Lacey was spinning.
Yeah. We
right?
literally walked in, and then as we walked in, there was two guys from Vegas
Yeah.
waiting for us.
Yep.
And we literally put our bags down and we went at it.
And then we moved to another cipher, and then we battled the guys from Melodrama.
Yeah.
Remember Sundance and his crew?
Yeah.
We battled them in another cipher, and then we moved and we battled some guys from the UK. And then we literally spent that whole day battling people.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think that was probably the last event, aside from people 799, who in my opinion was the best event ever
Mm-hmm.
for me,
I
for
agree.
many aspects. But 2001, after Lords of the Floor and then B-Boy Summit, that was kind of the last time that I felt that raw feel of like just going to a jam
Before this big change,
to
right?
call people out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because soon after 2001, 2002, it was already shifting.
Yeah.
By 2003, 2004, it was already
Well,
completely changed.
I would like to ask this because this is a thought that I've had a lot recently, and since we've been doing these podcasts and talking a lot about this, and like even I asked you the question like, what do you want to see from the '90s more nowadays? But then I also struggle with that, and I think like I understand that times do change and things have to be pushed forward. So maybe we have to come to the realization, like specifically, you told the story right now. So say a young b-boy hears this and they say, okay, these guys went to a jam specifically to call out people. So what if they try to emulate that and they take that, but it doesn't come off like the way y'all did it because it wasn't natural? You know what I mean?
Well,
So
I think that
it's almost like the question to ask is like, what is the next step?
For
What is
sure.
the next thing to
That's a good question.
push this culture forward?
And I think that's a
Rather
good-
than like try and bring back this golden era and do things
sure.
specifically and like
For sure.
cipher for the sake of ciphering and being a cipher cat. Like, what is the next step to push the artistry forward?
And I
you
think
know?
that's a good medium, a good medium thought, great thought. And I think that you have the purist. I used to be a purist, so that's why I can relate with that way of thinking.
It used to be.
They wanted to be the way it was in 1981. Whenever they started, that's how they wanted. I wanted it to stay at 1994, and so obviously life doesn't work that way, and you just express that. So again, when I said earlier, you can't force people to do that. That's just what I would like to see. Of course, I would like people to emulate that, but the expression is not going to be the same.
It's pretty much you want to see the essence of it.
I just want to see
not
the
the
essence,
specific action of it, but the essence.
or at
of
least
it.
the template of
feeling.
it.
The crazy thing is we always want something out of something. Like we want this, but is it going to happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because I tell you this, to go along with what you just said, Jeremy. Let's just say you get some young guys to try to emulate that. There's going to be some OGs going to be like, yo, those guys are whack.
Yeah.
Yo, they're not doing it right.
Well, even besides that, I'm sure
You know?
you've seen people who like, quote unquote, can't cipher. Like they're forcing it. You know what I mean? Like
Of
they're
course.
just going in and like it just throws out the vibe. It's like you're forcing it too much, man. Like it's not. You could tell it's not natural. You know?
And like I said, there are people who are going to get it. Some people are not going to get it. I think that there are people who do try, and I've seen it before where people have tried to emulate something from the '90s, the feeling or the expression or even just the dance way of
The
doing
fashion.
it. The fashion, and then people from our era will hate on them and say they're being whack. I've never been that type of person to do that. I've always kind of embraced anybody who's willing to embrace my generation. But I think that it's not going to be the same. It's not going to come out the same. For example, for myself, I can't relate to trains.
Yeah.
And I started as a writer in 6th grade, doing graffiti. And I kept doing art, and I still do art now, but
You mean like bombing trains?
bombing trains,
Yeah.
yeah. And here in Houston in the 90s, in order to come up as a writer,
That was
you had
big.
to be bombing.
You had to do that. Yeah.
And we couldn't do that. Obviously, we couldn't afford the paint and those type of things. But what I was going to say is that I don't relate to living on trains and running on trains because that's not how I grew up.
Yeah.
I can't relate to certain things from a New York perspective because I don't relate. So obviously, my hip hop is going to be different. I'm not saying that we created hip hop. That's not what I'm implying. What I'm saying is that it's going to be a different feeling, a different vibe.
Well, you have your way of how you saw it, how you grew up in it, and you don't want that to change.
So I think that somebody who started in 2018, the way they started doing hip hop, how they have first responded to it, that's going to stick with them. That is the birthmark with them, and that's going to stick with them.
That's good.
So what they try to emulate a little bit of what we did, I would like them to, because then they're going to create their own way of doing it, and then just like the vintage game is kind of recycled, then you'll begin to see that recycle of feeling, of vibes.
Yeah.
And again, I know that you guys can agree with me this, me with starting to DJ. One of the things why I wanted to start DJing was because I wanted to play music that I like to vibe to. Music that, I'm not saying that the DJs don't do it. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't do it. And I wanted to be
Just
able
needed to spin something different and hear something different.
that I vibe to.
Yeah.
And so as a return, whenever I play for some people, sometimes in a cipher, they come up and they say, man, that was dope. Like, it was different. Not saying that I was a better DJ than most DJs. It's just saying you played something that was different. Not saying that the other DJs don't have music. They just don't think about it. They might not think about it because, again, I'm just trying to bring something to kind of recycle that feeling.
For sure.
And I think that, you guys have done that. But the great thing about it is that if you get young people that walk into a jam that is a straight cipher feel, it's a straight the vibe, that's going to stick with them. You don't have to teach them that.
No.
Now, when you get kids that come in and they came into a competition set,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to teach them that part.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So they're good qualities with going that route of trying to learn it. Not saying you have to. I'm not saying anybody has to learn anything. All I'm saying is that you're gonna be better off if you do learn it. You know, Jeremy's a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Whoa,
even my brother, although my brother kind of went another route, and
Shout out to King Roy.
you guys kind of
Yeah.
started out together, and most people don't even know I have a brother.
Yeah.
I have a younger brother.
He was
Name
my
Roy.
person.
You got a
know,
few more brothers,
my
bro,
pe-
but you know what I'm saying?
You know.
I can get a shout out. It's all good.
Well, he was my peer growing up. Like me and Roy, he was the guy that I trained with growing up. You
So-
know,
so what
first
I'm saying
3
is
years
that-
in
You know, you're a good example. You know, you started in what year? 2006. You said.
2006.
You know, that's not a lot of time.
Mhm.
You know, compared to our time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But because you've been willing to dig beyond
Yeah.
most people, that has allowed you to exceed in certain areas that most people, even from my era, haven't been able to exceed.
Exactly.
You know, because they're not willing to open up them a lot faster because they never got a taste of that feel,
Yeah.
that pure feeling, that pure vibe. That is the rawest of feeling,
Mhm.
which is that cipher part. It is the most intimate part. And because people have not been intimate with that, they tend to leave, you know, and they lose out.
That's a good point.
But people that do find that, they'll say, "Oh man, you know, that was dope to vibe with you," or vice versa. With
Mhm.
people that are
Mhm.
around our circle,
Yeah.
we're all like that.
Yeah.
Cipher mode, you
Yeah.
know, or vibe, you know, feeling, and not many people are doing it. You know?
Yeah, man. I'll say this. You know, I'll go to a specific story. Not this silverback that passed, but the silverback before that. On day one, I walked in, and as soon as I walked in, I saw like this in the middle floor. There was this like huge thing going on, and I went straight to it. Like I was just drawn to it somehow. And sure enough, as soon as I walked in, I saw you and Marlon battling Kuzia and Lucy Sky
Yeah, shout
from
out
Europe.
to
You
That was
know,
dope.
and it was the first thing that I saw when I came in, and it was crazy to see. You know, like these two guys who are considered like top competitors in
Yeah,
the
the
scene
top
today,
competitors, for sure.
and you and Marlon, who have stepped back from the
In the
competitive scene,
shadows, in the dark.
but represent, you know, the essence of 90s breaking, and to see that and to kind of see what would come out on top, and no disrespect to anybody, but I think anyone who saw it saw who came out on top, and it was just a crazy moment to see. And one of the many stories I have to tell of like seeing, you know, it's like seeing somebody in his natural element, you know, like seeing a great artist, you know, in their prime and in the environment they can shine in, you know. And I think a lot of people can attest, you know, like whenever, you know, John is in a cipher, whenever Moy's in a cipher, whenever all three of us or the circle that we talk about are at an event and a cipher pops off and we're really going at it, like it's people just drawn to it, you know. And people can either hang, like we sometimes take over ciphers, you know, like not to be sound confident or not to sound cocky, but like
true.
we take over,
But
like
that's the goal,
we step
I think.
in, it's like boom, it's just people.
And I think it's not like we're trying to take over. It's just
natural.
that we just have this good vibe together, and we just keep going.
Yeah.
We're not worried about who's doing better moves or who's trying to do this or who's that or who's gonna come against us or battle us. We're just there just to go and just to vibe out.
But you know that battle, I think was great on two sides. I think it was great on their side because it showed that, hey man, it doesn't matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you're a legend or not legend, like I'm gonna call you out. And I think that they were willing to do that was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, because they're strong competitors that show their confidence. On the other side, it also shows another aspect of a world that's almost non-existent. Not so much non-existent because people
Not in the
do
limelight.
it, but it's not in the limelight
Yeah.
because that's not what the cameras are,
Yeah.
and that's okay. You know, I think at some point, to some degree, that's actually great.
Yeah.
You know, but if people shine more light on it, then that would maybe pull more other people.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think for the most part, I think that there was some good sides on both sides because one, you know, you had us who some people say, oh, you're too old, and yet we're competing with guys.
Who said
Somebody said it. I
They
saw
were
it
right.
somewhere. You know, I made the mistake of reading the comments like we all do. We're the
Oh, they put the
Oh,
footage up
man.
actually? There's
Yeah,
footage of it?
there's
Oh,
footage
word.
of it. But again, like I said, you know, we
Who's this guy in his Toys R Us shirt?
We could probably pull that up in a little bit.
we were able
Yeah.
to compete with guys that have a formula.
Yeah.
And we brought a different formula. And I think that was a different
Mm.
contrast to see. And I think that people learn from
That's
that.
good,
They
yeah.
learned from that. They learned, they're like, oh, there's another way to battle. Because there was a guy who was on there who was like, yo, why does he keep doing that stuff to his face? And another guy said,
What,
oh
burning
man,
him?
he's rocking.
Yeah.
He's doing some
Yeah,
rocking.
they don't have no clue.
And they had no clue,
Yeah.
no
Like, he
idea.
just chopped
Yeah.
his head off and
what
threw
it
it up
was.
in the air.
And again, it's because I'm taking parts of rocking which some people wouldn't like, but I
You're
don't
just
care.
vibing.
I'm just
You're not.
vibing.
You're not trying to do the sets that you're. And you never create sets, but I'm just saying you're not trying to
No.
do those sets that people practice for
Yeah.
to do on big stages. You were just moving.
So I think it was a good contrast of the battle. The battle was just dope to see the two sides, and there's a lot to learn from it. And I think for me, what I got from it the most was the respect. Like, I've been caught out by guys being a-holes,
Mhm.
and they got a double a-hole coming back.
Oh,
And-
what is that?
And I
look
made
like?
some people
Double
quit
A?
before, those type of things. But they came with respect.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a great battle, because
Yeah.
when you're able to go at it head to head and go hard, but
A-hole
still
to A-hole.
still be cool and
Yeah.
keep respect. And we all know what that tone is. There's a tone
Yeah.
of like respect, even though you're going at it and there's words being exchanged, that's
Mhm.
relating to the dance, but you're showing love to each other.
I think that's a good point though, because I feel like there's a lot of b-boys and b-girls today that like they feel like they have to put on this front, they have to be a gangster, they have to do this, and it's so weird for me to watch. But when something's honest, when something's true. Like, we've been in those heated battles, but after the battle, it's like we have probably all went to eat afterwards.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people who really take it like too personal. I'm not saying that we haven't been in personal battles, because we have, but that because it stemmed from something in the past, not at that moment.
So I think that there's a lot of stuff to learn from. Obviously, we have social media, and that has benefited all of us, because now we can be our own agent.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
And yeah, we have our managers and so forth, but you can be your own person, your own, publicist.
Yeah.
And so that has allowed every avenue to blossom. But at the same time, there's still a gap.
For
There's
sure.
still a gap in between that, and I hate to say it, but there's a gap, because there's certain things that you're not going to learn fully
Mm-hmm.
On your own.
unless you learn it on your own. You learn it in person,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or you learn it directly from the source.
Yeah.
And so there's great qualities to
So-
be able to do that.
So with all that being said, like, what's your take, your honest take on like what's happening today in the world of breaking? Whether it's competitive breaking, whether it's breaking being called a sport, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's just breaking taking off to a whole nother platform.
Trouble.
It's okay.
Nah.
Take another sip of your Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like, I think people want to know. They want to hear different. They want to hear different perspectives. They want to hear.
Second war, John. Second war,
No,
John.
people don't know this, but me and Moy had a very heavy talk. Not when the whole Olympics
Mhm,
thing came
mhm.
up. We both disagreed on some things. We can be honest about it, and we're brothers. And
Yeah, for sure.
I love Moy. Moy's
Yeah.
always welcome at my house, forever.
I better
Never,
be.
never, never.
Shoot.
What about me?
Like blood brothers, right?
Yeah.
We're more than blood brothers.
Yeah.
But we had
But that's why I think it's okay to disagree a
but we
lot.
had we had some disagreements, and we talked even while you were in the UK, and
Yeah.
we came to a medium place.
Mhm.
We didn't agree on everything, but we came to a medium place. And again, like I said, there's certain areas where I'm very, very purist,
Mhm.
and I think those have been great things that have added to me, to my mind, to the way I think, to the way I function. But I think that there has to be a balance to change. And I think that when you don't change, you lose out, or you get left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right now,
Yeah, your
The-
honest thoughts, man.
the breaking aspect, to be honest, I don't really fully care. One, because it doesn't have priority in my life at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have concerns. They're concerns.
Which we all do. I think we all do.
As a fan of breaking.
As a fan of breaking, I have concerns. Whether it's sport, whether it's culture. I mean, I think that we need both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we need both. But I do get concerned that the sport aspect takes more of a core priority.
Yeah.
A core principle. I can only parallel it to our faith.
Yeah.
There are certain things that, in terms of being a faith man, believing in Christ, there's certain things that we can disagree on,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
But when we begin to disagree on the core issues,
Yeah.
that's when it becomes an issue. And I think that that's my concern with breaking, is that there are certain key elements to breaking that we begin to put back on the back burner
Yeah.
to prioritize this other entity,
Yeah.
which is what we call sport. So I see it just like this balance. The
Yeah.
woman holds the balance,
Yeah.
you know, we're at a
And-
place now where we have two worlds. We
And that's
have
why
sport,
that's
we
why I
have
wanted
culture.
to ask you and get your honest take, because I think a lot of people still, because I judged the Olympics and was a kind of like a face for the role model thing or whatever, but like I still have my concerns.
Of course.
But I rather it be me who have at least never stepped foot out of the community, and I've always, whether it's been from a cipher level or competitive level, like I've always tried to I hate to say this, but stay relevant within this whole entire community. You know what I mean? And I still have my concerns. But I'm trying to find a balance. And I think the more I voice my opinion about it, just like you, it doesn't, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? But what I do care is that, like, at least I'm trying to be a balance and bring where I come from and what I know to the table.
Yeah.
And to some, it may be something, and to a lot of people, they may be crapping on me, they may be hating on me, which is totally fine. But like what I wanted to say is, like, I think it's okay. It's okay for people to feel how they want to feel. We said this the other day too. It's like, whether you call it a sport, a dance, an art form, culture, you can call it tiddlywinks. It is what it is. Breaking is breaking.
Well, I think that it's unfortunate sometimes because it can be kind of counterproductive with the way people think.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, there's some people they're just totally against the Olympics. They're totally against anything that is not to the way breaking has always been or should be. And for me, you have to be critical. Always.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is that's how I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always critical, but you still have to be constructive. And I think that sometimes people are so critical, but they defeat the purpose of kind of conveying their message, because there's some guys that are very, very critical, but they present nothing besides just that critical comment.
Yeah.
So they don't present anything else. And I think that's my only issue with the purist mentality, is that so many purists that say they know how to do it. And you know what? They probably do.
Yeah.
But it stops there.
Yeah,
It's
to
more,
each his
it's
own,
more
right?
reactive than
There's
proactive.
nothing else. And so for me, who still considers himself a purist, but has begun to kind of come to a middle place, I realize that there also needs to be some production, some productivity
Yeah.
as to what you're saying. And you'll get some guy who comes out of nowhere who's been out of the scene for 10 years and says they're not doing it right. Well, you know what? If you know how to do it right, then why are you not doing it?
Exactly.
So what if the Olympics is not on your side? You can still build something. Like, you
Yeah.
have to remember,
Yeah.
like, the greatest thing in breaking is that it started with nothing. With nothing.
Bada
Absolutely
bing, bada
nothing.
boom.
And then from there, it just, over the years, it began to create.
Yeah,
and-
I feel like people get so caught up, and aside from Olympics or whatever, but I feel like people get so caught up in what other people are doing. It's like, if you don't like what they're doing, just build something. Do something that creates a platform for yourself, and that's the beauty of it. I don't think there's any competition in that, because if you truly and highly believe in what you say, right, and it's truth that you speak, then you can do it.
Yeah.
Then you
So-
can do it.
It's
So,
healthy.
yeah.
It's healthy to have discourse,
Of course.
But like you talked about the core principles, like the question to ask is, do you think the Olympics, breaking existing in the Olympics is a good thing fundamentally? Like, you answer that question, and if it's yes or no, you go down different avenues. If you answer yes, or either way, if you answer
I
yes or
think for
no,
me at the moment,
then you ask, like,
sure.
okay, if it is a good thing to exist in it, well, what are like you spoke about the core principles of breaking? What particular core principles do you think are in danger of being put on the back burner, and what are the measures to take to make sure they're not put on the back burner?
for me personally, it's too early to tell for me, because I'm an observer.
Yeah.
I observe.
Yeah.
You have to observe what's in front of you.
Yeah, you have to watch everything.
And so I think to be able to say whether it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I don't know whether it's going to be a good thing. I don't know if it's going to be a bad thing. I know that my friends are part of it.
Yeah.
A lot of my peers that I respect and respect me are part of it. And I think those are great things. But I don't know where I feel, whether it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I know that there's always the idea of, like, well, it could benefit. it's too early for me to know whether it is or it's not.
Yeah. Well, with
I think
what
that's
we've
a good
seen,
answer.
well, what we've seen so far, not even talking about the Olympics, but falling in line overall with just the shift in recent years of a huge emphasis being put on competitive breaking and larger events and bigger stages and things like that. How do you think that's affected the dance particularly? Like,
I mean, I think it's affected the dance because now the priority becomes to try to win a gold medal. The priority becomes other priorities as opposed to
yeah,
what we talked about earlier. Again, I'm not saying that either one is right or wrong. All I'm saying is just having a balance. You know, life is predicated on being balanced. Everything comes
Yeah.
down to balance.
Yeah.
Whether it's our universe, whether it's eating,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's thinking, everything is a balance, you know. And so whether it's a work life, whether it's
Yeah.
spiritual life, everything is balanced. And I think that I'm nobody to say whether it deserves to be or doesn't deserve. Um, in my initial feeling, I think that anything that allows people to promote themselves and to get a better life, I'm for that.
Yeah.
I'm for anybody to make their life better, but not at the expense of other people, not at the expense of other people kind of getting the back burner of it. My concern is that will people truly benefit what they need to benefit, because we know that, again, breaking has a history
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of a lot of ignorance, in the business world.
Yeah.
In terms of contracts, which I've made a big fuss about before,
Yeah.
which I stopped because nobody really cared.
But I think you should talk about it. So if we get some chance, I think.
Yeah, and so
Some time.
So for me, it's too early to tell. Do I think it's going to affect the scene? It already has. I think it has affected in some bad ways, where people, again, their goal becomes that,
Yeah.
and the culture itself doesn't get the shine, or doesn't get the love that it needs to. But on the other side, I think that it's great because, one, why shouldn't it be in the Olympics?
Yeah.
It's far more creative.
Mm-hmm.
It has far more of everything than anything else. I mean,
Entertainment.
you know, people on there with the little, you have those people who are just kind of brushing the floor and they're pushing that little thing,
Yeah.
you know, that little donut.
oh, that's
I mean, if that can be the Olympics,
We know some
well,
people that push
Curling.
donuts.
well,
Curling.
you know,
It's called
curling, the breaking can.
Hey,
Again,
don't be
my,
hating on curling, bro.
Or
But-
fencing. I got into it with an athlete at the Youth Olympics, and
fencing?
dude, this was bad. So I've probably never shared this with anybody like globally. It was more internally, but you're gonna hear it now. So I don't mean to interrupt what you're saying,
Yeah.
but this is good because you brought that up. So we go to this. Me and AT, Beaker AT, we were athlete role models at the Olympics. So we go to this dinner, and then this tall girl comes up to me, right, and she's like, hey, so you guys are athlete role models. What do you guys, what's your sport, right? And we're like, we're here for breaking. And she was like, oh yeah, I saw the competition, but like, I just don't agree with the outfits. Like, what were they wearing? Like, and I'm like, what do you mean? What? I was like, what? I got like real defensive. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? She was like, well, and she grabs my hat. She goes, like, get close to me. She goes, well, the hats are cute. And I'm like, yo, don't touch me like that. What are you talking about? The hats are cute, but aren't you like breakdancers supposed to be like in tracksuits? And I'm like, excuse me, what do you do? And she was like, oh, I do fencing. Oh, I said, oh, fencing. You guys play with swords. I said, you guys play with swords and dress in one-dimensional outfit that's all gray that looks like metal with a mask on your face.
You were
I was
hard
like,
on her like that?
yeah. And I was like, nah, I don't see no individualism about that. At least every person that you saw competing on the floor represented themselves. Sorry, it wasn't a tracksuit, but it was the way they felt and the way they wanted to dress. Yeah, it was pretty bad. That was my only bad experience
And then what
at
did
the
she say
Olympics.
after that?
Other than
What
that,
did she say after that?
she knew that I was kind of getting heated or
She
whatever,
went, "Oh."
and she was like, "No." She goes, "No." She goes, "Oh no, I didn't mean to take it. I didn't mean for you to take it like that." No, that's exactly how you said it. I said, "We don't need to debate about it anymore. It is what it is. I feel the way about
Wow.
fencing.
These
How you feel
breakdancers-
about
those
breaking."
things
These
happen.
breakdancers are rude.
Yeah, these things happen. But
I'm gonna start
to
fencing.
solidify my thought and finish my thought was basically, do I have concerns? Yes, I do. Can I come to a conclusion? I think it's too early. But again, I don't. I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it was about voting. Like, I'm just not a straight ballot.
Wait, who'd you? No, I'm just like.
You know, I'm back. I'm on this side for certain things. I'm on this side for certain things. So,
Dang.
am I for it or against it? I'm in the middle. I think there's some areas where I'm for it. There's some
Yeah.
places where I'm not. I feel that to a certain degree, there's certain people who have gotten too much power. to be on the boards of the breaking aspect. My honest opinion.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
There's some people that I get concerned with because they're on that board, and I feel that they were given too much power. But I think that that's the power that also the people gave them. So that's what the people wanted.
Dang.
And so I can't complain about that.
That's a good point, though. If people feel like, I'm sure there's a lot more people that feel that way, right? About not just a certain group of people, about a lot of us, right? In things that we do. But if no one speaks up, then no one will ever know, right?
And I think that can be a complicated thing too sometimes, because
it is.
Unfortunately, when you speak about it, you don't speak about it over podcasts. You're speaking about it on Facebook, and the good thing about Facebook is you're allowed to express your thoughts. You're allowed to connect and share your thoughts and what you believe, and that was supposed to be a good thing. Unfortunately, there's no emotions tied to your text.
Yeah.
So if I say I don't agree, you're like, what do you mean you don't agree?
Yeah.
You might have taken it like, I just mean I don't agree, and then it goes on to something
Everything
else.
gets taken out of context.
So the context is unfortunate, because a lot of times you can't convey that message, and I think that also there are times when you can speak about certain things, and there's certain times when you can't.
Yeah.
I think at the moment right now, there's not a time to speak anti-ness.
Yeah.
You have to rearrange how you're going to portray your message, and if it has any type of anti-feeling to it, it's not going to be received. So you have to kind of rebrand how you're going to convey your message. And so again, I'm not saying that not everybody deserves to be on there. I just have my concerns with certain people that are on there.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I question whether they should be on there, only because they're in a sense kind of leading. They're not leading the breaking community, but they're leading part of the breaking community. And again, I've said this even before the Olympics was even thought of or even brought out.
Yeah.
And I kept saying that, like, there's always going to be two worlds.
Yeah.
You're going to have that world of breaking, and you're going to have the commercial world.
Yep.
We've seen that in Hollywood. It's been existent there since the 80s, 90s, and even when we got there.
Yeah.
So they're always going to exist. And I think that for the individual, that individual has to come to a place on whether they're going to decide to balance those two and allow those two to exist within their life, or just go either way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a wrap.
Really quick, want to shout out some people that are tuning in. We shouted out Sammy, Exodus. We have another B-boy, El Indigo from Chile. He said, hi, mother effers.
Shout out Chile.
And then we got B-Girl Maka, who said, that's real. Your hip-hop is not New York hip-hop. Not everything has to be fake to look like they're from an era/area they're not from, but honor where it's from. Upkeep it. Bring it to your local history.
Shout out Maka.
Maka, and then we got one Coral, who that might be
Camargo. That's Rick Camargo.
Camargo. Yeah, so we appreciate you guys tuning in. Share the podcast. It's live. Share the link. Get some more questions out here or some more feedback.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
I wanted to ask something. If you're a B-boy or B-girl and you've done your history, you know about Moy and John as one of the most classic duos of all time. So I would just personally like to hear, I know a lot of people would like to hear like the story of you guys meeting. Like, what's y'all's earliest recollection of y'all meeting, or maybe y'all battling? Or
we met at Mason Park.
Yeah, Mason Park. Yeah.
I walked it. Well, I didn't want to go to Mason Park.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't really go to Mason Park.
What area of Houston is that?
Because
for those who don't know.
I'm from Second Ward. Moy was
Magnolia.
well originally.
I'm from Manchester.
Originally
I'm from Manchester.
We're getting good.
So originally Manchester, then Magnolia, which was
opposing hoods.
which was considered like Central Park, and
Yeah, even Manchester and Magnolia were opposing hoods.
yeah. Well, in my neighborhood there was like 5 different. They all they didn't get along.
Yeah.
So it was like whether it's BAP, PSV, Bleenox, it was all different.
A whole bunch of acronyms you don't need to know about.
But yeah, so we met at I think it was Mason Park.
Mason Park, yeah.
I remember
It's
walking.
like
in.
90
You was in opposing.
It was like
territory.
96, I think.
You walked in opposing.
Yeah, I
territory.
walked in and I was just kind of I mean, I knew that they might give me some leeway because I was a b-boy now.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that happened in the
What
hood
color
where
was your hair at the time?
He had long blonde,
my hair was
blondish.
long. My hair was in like the ponytail
Yeah.
style, which is where I'm going right now too. It's almost there. But yeah, I saw Moy there and met with him, a bunch of the other guys, the original guys from Havoc,
Mm-hmm.
and we practiced on the stage. And that was,
Yeah.
I think, the first time.
Yeah.
Second time was a Hobby skating ring,
Mm-hmm.
where I saw you. He was wearing an Adidas suit and he was like jumping like a little kid, like Isaiah. So that's
My
kinda-
son, Isaiah.
That's how we
Yeah.
first met. But I remember hearing about them because I was at another party in Second Ward. It was just like a regular house party, and somebody was like, "Yeah, some other guys from Central Park and Magnolia that are breaking." And we're like, "Really? Are they good?" And so we went, and then I realized like they had a lot of stuff we had, and so that's kind of how we met.
Yeah, and then
That's the same recollection.
yeah, same exact the same way. I remember John walking up to me though, and he was like, "Just want to tell you one thing. Just stay humble." He didn't tell me that.
How old was he? How old were you?
I don't even remember.
Me? I was probably like 12, 13.
You
Yeah.
put your ass in your seat real
Yeah,
quick,
he was
boy.
like, "Just do one thing." And then I remember that when I saw him, when he said I was jumping around in a hobby skate.
Like a
That,
leprechaun.
hobby skate is literally down the street
Down the
from Break
street.
Free, but
Yeah.
it burnt down. It burnt down.
Yeah.
Now there's like another warehouse
Help
there.
spot.
But the next time I saw him, he was battling. There was a crew called, what was it, High Tech?
High Tech, yeah.
Right? There was a
High-Tech.
crew called High Tech, which is like house dancers and b-boys, right?
Mixture.
And you were going off on these boys. And I remember me and
Tell me.
Chewy was like, I think that's Little John from
Oh, that
VR.
was that hobby skate.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, he was like, I
VR
think that's Little
Troopers.
John from VR. And I'm like, what's VR stand for? He goes, I don't know, we call it VR Troopers, right? Because it was like a show at the
Yeah,
time,
show.
VR Troopers.
It's like the
But it
Power
was
Rangers.
Visual Rhythm, right?
Visual
You were
Rhythms.
part of a crew called Visual Rhythm.
That's a crazy name.
Yeah. But, yeah. And then essentially 6 months, a year later, we just started just
Practicing
seeing each
together.
other more, practicing together, started doing a lot of the local events, whether it was the practices at YA Youth Advocates or going to like Fitzgerald's,
Yeah.
La Noche,
TBH.
which TBH. La Noche was like a club night that you had to be 18 and over, and I was like 13 going
and then
there.
there was Club AM, which started at 2 p.m. 2 a.m. It started at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, which was Middle Earth.
Yeah, middle of
And you guys would go there and break
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
2 a.m.
And then those kind of ended for me, and then we also went to like quinceañeras.
Yeah,
We went to 15s
Yeah.
and danced there. Yeah, we did that for a minute.
yeah.
When was the first time y'all battled together? Like,
Battled together or
Like
battled against
competition?
each other?
Battles
Or
against
both,
each other was
both.
like at a fly event, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember exactly,
Who won?
but oh, I remember. It was at a park, right?
The Miller.
Yeah.
like a competition or just
Yeah.
like get
John
battling?
beat us.
John won the first one?
What? I don't remember.
It was in the
it
finals.
Was
It was in the finals. It was you and
I still have the award, actually. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was you.
I actually
who
still
who'd
have
you
that
battle
footage.
with?
It was me, Marlon,
It was you and Marlon.
Glass.
I
It
think it
was-
was 2-on-2. No.
I don't remember because
Yeah.
it was you and Maya was dancing that day. Or
Yeah.
was he with y'all?
Yeah.
And then there was Jesse.
Uh huh.
I don't remember who else was.
I think it was me and Maya versus you
Yeah.
and Marlon
Dang.
finals.
Yeah. And then we battled several times.
Yeah.
I also have the footage where we battled at TBH.
We battled at TBH.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah. This is your secret project that you're gonna release.
Oh, we
see?
uncovered it, dude.
So-
A lot
I
of
already
digging.
know, I already
He
know.
said a lot of digging,
Well,
so
that's part of it.
or his own vintage shot.
Shout out to Larry
Yeah.
Boy who just tuned in. Said great content you guys produce. Appreciate
Well,
that.
I want to know. I know, of course, Havoc and Koro in the story. For all those that don't know, Havoc and Koro were two crews. They're the top two crews in Houston. Joined '99. But I want to know who, like before Havoc Koro '99, who got the best of who? Like who has the most wins, Havoc or Koro?
No, I honestly think it would go back and forth a lot.
We went back
Pretty
and forth
even?
a lot.
Yeah, I would say, and I think that's what kind of sparked the idea of like, let's just get together and
Yeah,
go
we
battle
won
the
some,
world.
We lost some. Sometimes we beat them. Sometimes they beat us.
Yeah.
And I think we were always. It's weird because I don't see that often. Like we were super cool with each other.
Yeah,
We were always.
it was
super
never
cool.
like on like beef stuff. The people that we beefed with were like, like United B-Boys
Sure.
or
Shout out to them.
It was
yeah,
like a
street
natural,
style.
It was
Huh?
a natural connection.
Yeah, it was a very natural
Street style, they
connection,
were dope.
But I always say one funny story. This was like
Yeah, I'm
2000,
trying to dig that out.
2001,
Very funny
2002.
stories.
No, we went to Japan and we got into argument.
Yeah, we got into it.
One argument, right? We've been in a lot of arguments, but I remember we were in Japan and we're out there for a tribal tour. So shout out to Bobby from Tribal and
Yeah,
Carl,
he's always looking
Tribal
out for us.
Streetwear. They used to fly us out to Japan early 2000s a lot. We would go there a lot, right? And so we went, and then we heard about an event that was going down at a club. It was a 2-on-2. So we went. And we're like, and I think Easy Rock is judging,
Easy Rock,
Crazy Legs, Musami,
Musami.
right?
That was it.
That was it. So there's 3 Rocksteady judges. We're like, all right, cool. Like I think we have the edge here, right?
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be good.
Because we had foundation.
Yeah, we felt like we had everything that they wanted to see. So we're literally breezing through everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so
I think I have that footage.
yeah, we go and we're killing it. We go to the finals, and we end up. Long story short, we end up losing the finals. But the crazy
Why
thing,
did we lose?
yeah, we lost the finals because at the time in Japan they were raising up little flags,
Yeah, that was
right,
the
on
thing.
each
They
side.
still do that sometimes.
But they had them on the ground. There was a blue one and a red one, And I remember Musami voted for the Japanese crew.
Because she was following.
She was
Legs.
following Legs, and Easy Rock voted for us.
But
Legs picked up the wrong flag, and then he tried to switch it, and they said that no, that it is what it is.
Yeah.
So like we really won because Legs was trying to even switch it. Yeah, we smoked the guys, but we that didn't even snap to us. What we first did, and this is how we grew up. When I talked about like it was like a thing for us to be different. We were very competitive against each other, and I think that's what made us so good is that we grew up battling each other, right?
Sure.
And literally this happened like right after we lost. John was like, "Oh man, we lost because you repeated." So he starts going off at me about you repeated, and I'm like, "Bro, you messed up. You fell out of this move." And so we're going back and forth, back and forth. So and we're staying in the same hotel, right? In the same room.
But we're in the middle of in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Where all the shoes are at. So we're arguing.
We're arguing
outside.
heavy argument. So we split up. It's like 2 a.m. and we end up meeting back at the hotel. We're like, "You good? You good? Yeah, all right, cool. Let's go get some food." But it was weird, you know. It was.
Y'all really won.
Oh yeah, we smoked those guys bad.
And that was like an early time to experience that those type of things happening in battles.
Yeah.
Because early on
it was weird for us.
Early on we realized, man, there's a lot of issues with judging. And this was before
flags.
This is before
Yeah.
there was any system. This is before people couldn't even decide whether if it was going to be a round per round battle. That wasn't even.
Yeah.
People hadn't even talked about
it.
It
was just, hey, we got 3 judges.
And sometimes it would be timed. There wasn't even no rounds. It's like we'd be doing a 2-on-2 and it'd be like 10-minute battle, and so we'd probably do like 6-7 rounds each or something like that, you know.
But I think that event was a big event too because we did some moves that nobody had seen before.
Yeah, for sure.
And after that, people were doing them.
Yeah.
We're doing the moves that we did. Because even Easy Rock came up to me and was like, "Man, I've never seen what you guys are doing." And that was like a big deal to me because one,
we looked up to Easy Rock.
Easy Rock was a big inspiration, and he had already seen what was going on, around the U.S. So that was a big deal. But yeah, that was pretty messed up.
So yeah, it was bad. But now spinning off that you said like we put out some moves that you think that people are doing now. Like, what's your take on biting? We recently just released a clip just talking about biting, but like, what's your take on it? Because I think a lot of people they think biting. You have the purists are like, no, it's a no-no, right? Like you should, like I think that way still, but I also have this like thing for like if you're influenced by somebody and then you kind of not mimicking the approach, but it kind of like subconsciously travels or translates over, then I get it. You know, you have a teacher, it's being kind of just introduced to you, but like what's your take? Like what's your take on biting? Because real quick, I feel like there's a lot of people that do our stuff today, but we will never get credit for it.
Never.
We will never get credit for
Never.
it. You know? And that's why I want your honest take on that.
Yeah. That's
There's a lot of people doing Lil John's moves just to be
So-
A lot of people.
So the pure side of me is, to me, Biden is a no-no. For me personally, that's always been a no-no. In Houston, we didn't really use this. That came later. This sign here, we actually used to do this. And
Oh, we used to do this. Remember
yeah,
that? We used to
when
call them
We
sharks.
used to do sharks when we see somebody. And then
That's why I put the shark.
So, but
graph.
Stupid, though.
in the early '90s,
It wasn't stupid back then.
yeah, it wasn't. But in the early '90s, even if you speak to some of the original guys from Coral, they didn't really say biting. Well, they said biting, but they would actually call them a picket part dancer. So when you go to pick apart to get parts off of a car,
Yeah.
but it was like for a dancer.
We talked about that in the episode.
Mhm.
And I remember there was guys that would say, "Don't dance in front of that guy because he's a picket part dancer.
Yeah.
He's taking your stuff." So people
This was big. This
People
was
wouldn't
big.
dance in front of picket part dancers. So the purist in me says, hell no. For me, I don't even understand that way of thinking.
Like, why would you even bite?
Why would you even bite?
It's like what I said. Is what's the purpose?
But again, it goes back to people who, because that's how I started. So that's in me. But people who didn't start that way, they don't understand that concept. And so, to simplify it, if I can, I don't believe in biting somebody's stuff because one, it's somebody else's hard work. So for example, before the social media aspect, people would practice In my opinion, people practice a lot harder because the mind had to work that much harder to create something.
Yeah.
Because
that's a good point.
You had to create, in essence, from nothing.
Yeah.
You know, before B-Boy Summit '99, you know, we were having to create certain things, or I would see you, and I would see y'all into something, and vice versa. So everybody was creating, but you had to create. You had to force that creation. Yeah. You know, as opposed to now where you can, if your mind, the creativity is dead, just log on and you get ideas, and that's good and bad. I'm not dissing that way of doing things, but for myself, you're taking somebody else's hard work. You're taking somebody else's time, somebody else's idea, their creativity. It's like you're taking somebody's fingerprint. You know, you're taking the piece of their blood away. And for me, that's why. Money, man. For me, that's why it's a no-no. It's a no-no. And I think that the culture itself is also to blame for it too, because in one way they have accepted it. The culture has accepted biting. Why? Because
who wins competition?
They prioritize somebody winning. They prioritize.
And we just talked about all this stuff.
They prioritize that. So and again, I'm not seeing any of the podcasts, so it's not.
Well, the way that we conveyed it and we talked about, like, and I don't think people have ever put it in this way, or maybe they have, but it's not widespread and documented and put out there. But like, there's a difference between biting a move and biting an approach.
So that's where I was gonna go to.
And we talked about like subconsciously, like not even like. So today, we talked about the formula earlier. So if we acknowledge that there's a formula, how people approach competitions, and we might even have been susceptible to subconsciously doing this formula. And I can recall, like, and I can even look at some of my rounds, and like, I could say, okay, I went out there, and even though I didn't have sets, I went out there and I did top rock, then I did go down, then I did footwork, and I threw in moves, and I hit a beat, and then I got up, I finished clean. And if that's
because you want to win.
But we also talked about like. So that makes, if you compartmentalize breaking into a finite number of categories and say this is what breaking is, it's dynamics, it's foundation, you know, what these judging systems try to do. And then you also go deeper into that in the music that's played nowadays. There's a formula to that music. So it's almost like there's a finite number of things to do. So there's going to be blending, and because people are all approaching the dance the same way, it's created this formula, it's created this same approach, so people are subconsciously doing other people's moves. And then we brought that up too about the pick apart thing. There's people, and this is harder to tell, you know. It's easy to tell when someone's like chomping a move and chomping a style, but it's hard to tell when someone's piecing this and piecing this.
So that's my concern. That's one of my small concerns with judging. And again, if you throw your own events, you can pick whoever you want. That's what it is. If I threw my own jam, there's certain people that I would fly out that are big names. I would give them an award. I would give them an award. They wouldn't be judging. I say, you get an award for dancing 30 years, but you sit down, because you don't get it. You know, and even for some young people, you know, there's some young people there's a lot of young people judging, and that's a slight concern for me, because although they're experienced with winning competitions, they might not be experienced with the knowledge of knowing the difference between somebody who's been inspired by another dancer or somebody who's deliberately biting. And again, I know that there's some scholars, there's a lot of scholars out there at the moment, you know, Facebook is full of scholars who know what biting is. But again, I think the biting, it affects the individual the most, the person who worked hard to create that move. You know, you started dancing in 2006, but there's still some moves that I can say that you created. If I see somebody do it, I'm going to know that's your move. But again, it's going to hurt you the most because you worked to make that move up. See what I'm saying? So it took time, it took pressure, it took a lot of different things, emotions, it took thoughts. It takes a lot of things. There's a lot of components to create this atmosphere to build something out of nothing. And I think that's why I take personal offense to biting. I think that as a judge, for me personally, I probably delete it in terms of like I count it to people. And there's been times when people tell me that I shouldn't, but I do because that's such a vital.
When you say count it, you mean like if someone bites, it's like
point deduction.
Yeah, it's like in
like
my
a
mind,
mental, mental
it's
point
a mental
deduction.
Out of the original category, because I know the history. I know where those moves come from. You know, like to this day, I don't do an air chair. I personally do not do an air chair, not because I think it's a whack move. I don't do it because I still feel like that moves belongs to somebody. There's people in Texas that I can say, there's about 4 names that I can say, that move belongs to them. Because those are the people I saw do it.
Yeah.
And I saw them do it before I saw it in LA.
Yeah.
But of course, you go to LA, there's some people in LA who did it first.
Well, Poe One, right?
You know? Yeah, it's like Poe One. If you go to, Florida, Bebe and Abstract.
In Abstract,
Yeah.
And Abstract.
Now, people don't know about that.
And Bebe, too. If you go to Texas,
It's Chewy.
there's Chewy.
Crisis.
There's Crisis.
Yeah.
I would even
Crisis
say...
came later.
Yeah, Crisis came later. I would even say like Worm and Flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worm and Flow for sure.
Who are from Jive Turkeys,
Yeah.
who innovated the way that move was done. I would also say from Soul Control, Eric. I also saw him do it.
Yeah.
So for me...
But would you say every single one of these people you named, they had their own way of doing it?
I would say they had their own way of doing it, which proves that you can be original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
It proves that.
And
it's like when people say to me, it's impossible to everybody thinks alike. No, we don't all think alike.
Mhm.
It's bull.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think that's a good educational way of putting it, but I think that...
like there may be some similarities, but it's not.
But it's not because, again, you can look at the 90s. And in the 90s, we still had access. It's not like we were like dead to the world.
Right.
We still had access, and still people created. So again, I just think that, yes, I think it's a big deal. I think in terms of competition, they don't put importance on it.
Mhm.
And I understand why they do that in terms of the competition aspect. And that's what it is. At the moment, I don't have that power to be able to say, count that. But for me, I count it.
Yeah.
I count
But
it.
you do have the power because whenever you get the opportunity to
I use
judge, you use it.
I use it.
So
And-
you do have the
and
power.
The idea that nothing is original, I don't believe that.
Oh, no, I remember one
I
battle
don't
you
believe
voted
that.
against me and Palmer, and I was like, man, I don't
I mean, no, what I was trying to say is that the idea that people say that nothing's new, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. Like,
I agree.
perfect example is Detour's video, which I love. Shout out to those guys. It's one of the dopest
Midas.
clips.
Midas,
Midas.
Elsewhere,
Yeah, it's super dope.
Cujo, right?
Robzilla.
Robzilla, Stunts, they're all in
Stunts,
that.
yeah.
And I understand that message, right? Like nothing is new, but things are new
You're speaking a lot of language that people don't understand right now.
because
Bringing up
yeah,
detours.
whether there was a guy who did a headspin in 1946 or late 46,
Yeah.
40s,
I've seen that clip.
it still wasn't in the context of breaking.
Context.
It
Well,
wasn't.
Palmer was saying something that day on the podcast that was really dope, and it's that the
Something about
context, the context drives the content.
Exactly. And so, can people be original? Yes, I believe that with everything in me. Do people want to be original? I don't know. I question that
Mhm.
because
Majority no nowadays.
Because
it goes back to they want to win. So
the spirit of originality, it's there. It's like God. It's always there. But like, yeah, God's everywhere. But there's times where God makes Himself more aware and more present
Mhm.
than at other times.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
No, that's
And
good.
so-
sometimes people ignore God when He's showing. them.
Exactly. And so I think that with the originality, that way of feeling, that I think that it presents itself according to how hungry you are.
Yeah.
If somebody's that hungry enough to want to do that, you're gonna get it. And so I don't think that there's enough people. And again, when I say people, I'm not saying everybody. Don't insecure people.
I mean,
start
you're,
saying-
you're speaking very general.
I'm
so,
speaking in
yeah.
general. But again, on the good side, there's always a good side. There's a lot of people in Europe, in Russia, St. Petersburg, Yalta. They have a lot of originality. They do stuff, and it throws me back to like when we started,
Mhm.
and I'm like, man, that's dope. Like they're onto something.
Yeah.
And it happens again in the States. But again, I think that although competition has been great in a lot of aspects, in terms of the original aspect,
Yeah.
it's almost like torn it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's not priority.
Yeah. So bottom line though, you don't agree with like biting. Biting is still a no-no for you.
For me, Biden is still a no-no. Do I think that it's still going to be, people still going to get away with it? Yeah, I think that people will get
I
away
agree.
with it. I think that there's, the complications of judging sometimes, that sometimes a guy will bite a move and you'll still vote for him.
I feel personally like we're too far in that it's going to be hard to like not have people get away from it. You know what I'm saying? Like
People should start paying royalties.
yeah.
That'll solve
Well,
the
We can
problem.
give those
I'll tell you
Venmo
what,
accounts later.
if people would start to address it more
Yeah.
often, and when I say people like us, people who have a voice, who have a podcast, who have, their events, if you started putting more emphasis on it, then people would maybe do it less. Because again, it's not, I remember going to jams and certain people be on the mic, like Steeler would do this and he would call people out.
Yeah,
And so people would be like, oh, you're shaming people. No, you're not. You're telling them the truth.
yeah,
And sometimes people need to be told the truth. And to end what my thought to what Jeremy was saying is that I can tell when somebody has started dancing, and I can tell that they've been inspired by somebody else.
Yeah.
And I give leeway for that
yeah, for sure.
because
It's
if you
that. It's like that influence.
Yeah.
These are the people you look up
yeah,
to.
if you
whatever.
just started dancing, I give you 3 years,
Yeah,
3 to 4 years for you to find yourself.
yeah. Figure it out.
You want to be like this person. I mean, there was times when I wanted to be a Ken Swift. There's times when I wanted to be a Flowmaster. There's
Yeah.
times when I wanted to be Easy Rock. There was a big time when I wanted to be Ivan.
Yeah,
There's time when I wanted to be Thunder.
yeah,
There was times when I wanted to be Ibrahim from Paris, the Power Move guy.
Yeah.
Times when I wanted to be guys from like Enemy Squad.
Yeah.
So there was times in my life where I wanted to be these characters in my mind.
yeah,
And then I finally found what was me.
yeah.
And I think that that type of maturity or knowledge, it doesn't come. It's not as available.
Yeah.
It doesn't come as easy.
No, that's
And,
good.
and that's my concern at times with the younger generation.
Yeah. Shout out to Luxury who just tuned in. Say what's up, everybody.
What up?
So, last thing I want to be able to talk to you about with is, which I think all comes together with everything that we have talked about, is fashion, right? I know fashion is a huge, huge part of our culture, right?
For sure.
You got the vintage fit going, right? And I know
Showcase that,
to a
Josh.
lot of people though.
Put that camera on John and make the show his outfit real quick.
Boom!
Show
Look at
the
that
drip.
Toys R Us shirt.
Man,
Ah.
the Filas. Oh, what year is that shirt, bro?
It's pretty old.
No, so
It's pretty old.
what I was gonna say is that
What does that say?
Look at that, compact.
baby. What's the Tell them if they don't know about compact. Let them know what compact stands.
hold on, real quick. I was gonna say to a lot of people, like people may think that like this whole vintage thing has kind of been recycling, but man, you've been like
Long time.
digging in thrift stores and vintage shops and stuff for a long time. I
Shout
remember
out
that
Lil John
because
spot.
you would always dig for toys or records and
For
stuff
sure.
like
I
that.
still
But
do, yeah.
yeah, and I wanted to bring that up because especially the fashion side because
Because you're the best
Fashion
in the
is-
crew, hands down.
fashion, especially the vintage side, is booming. Like
For
it's
sure.
booming.
Very.
But like, what's your take in fashion today, and also how it's applied to like the breaking community or hip hop community? Do you think that fashion plays a big role?
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. I think that fashion is. It's like it's like the B, but in the ABCs. It's like right after.
Yeah, you need it.
Fashion was always a big thing,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of times I don't really talk about it because again, I know that not everybody might have the funds to do it. Some people are not as fortunate enough to do it. But again, with the thrifting, stuff is mad cheap.
yeah,
I've found tons of clothes that sells for a lot, or they could sell for a lot, and I found it for like
yeah.
bucks or
And
cents.
there's a lot of vintage resellers. I want to shout out Hip Hop Vintage Flea Market, who have their market going on every first Sunday of the month. But there's a lot of vintage resellers. But you're a collector. Like you hardly. I know you sell stuff,
Yeah.
but you hardly sell your stuff,
How's
right?
the garage looking?
Well, stars now. Well, I think that's why I don't. At the moment right now, I actually closed down Lil John spot because one, I didn't have the time. I have a couple other things that I'm doing that have taken more of my time.
So you don't resell?
I'm still reselling,
Why
but
at the market?
I'm reselling in 2 different stores. So I sell it in different stores now. I don't sell it from my hands because
Yeah.
I don't have the time. So what I do is I still collect the clothes and then I drop it off, and then they have it in their inventory, which is a spreadsheet that we made,
Mm-hmm.
a Lil John spot inventory sheet. They log it in, and I allow them to. I mean, I trust them.
Yeah,
If I don't
yeah.
trust you, I'm not going to do business with you.
Yeah.
So I trust them. They're like family to me, and they log it in, they price it, and then they take their percentage,
Dope.
and then they send me the PayPal.
Yeah.
So and again, that allowed me to be able to do my other stuff, but still be able to do this because I still like the hunting process, the element of surprise.
Earlier you said that this was way early when we started the podcast, but you said like today maybe, I don't know if you said you struggle or it's hard for you to have this inspiration for breaking, right? But sometimes, like, let's just say digging for gear or for toys or whatever, is that part of this something different that allows you to kind of maybe build inspiration?
Man, a lot of times, collecting is when I first, well, my wife, y'all both know my wife, but for everybody that doesn't know my wife, my name is Dirsa, when we first met, it took her a while to understand that process of why I was actually collecting toys and why I was so addicted.
I bet she wants to sell everything you own.
Yeah, she does. She wants me to sell. I have this big Toys R Us sign. I'm probably
How'd you acquire the sign?
I'm probably one of two people in the entire world who has it.
How'd you acquire the sign?
Let me finish my thought. So
Thou shalt not steal.
So it took my wife some time to understand that process, but I get a lot of inspiration from digging. My way of collecting is a bit different than everybody else. Most people collect, they collect the whole thing. So they're gonna collect Star Wars. They're gonna collect every single Star Wars. I don't collect that way. I collect with things that were memories for me, things that bring me back to how I was. I have this idea in my head, or this ideology in my head that you're the purest of an artist when you're a kid. I think that you're the best artist as a kid because one, you've not been.
I agree.
You've not been tampered with. Your mind, your body, soul, and spirit has not been messed with. It's not been conformed to appease the world. Yeah. So as a result, you're more. It's just natural. It's more pure. Yeah. It's more innocent. Yeah. And so whenever I collect, I everything that I've collected has a story. Yeah. To my childhood, and you know my childhood. Some of it. I had a crazy childhood, and I even lived with you and your mom. Your mom took me in like a son, which I'm very grateful to her. I always will be. And being homeless, being on my own since 11. So for me, whenever I dig, I get to relive a memory. I get to relive a time in my life that I feel was either stolen from me or that I just miss. And so that builds a lot of inspiration, whether it's collecting toys, whether it's collecting, clothes, brings them back. But in terms of the fashion aspect with breaking, I think that honestly, there's times when guys are super dope, but their outfit looks like trash, man. Yeah. And honestly,
I agree.
It takes a lot away. It takes a lot away from
the style.
From the style.
Now we're getting into it.
And for example, let me use
Are you gonna call somebody out?
A B girl. There's several B girls. Who the girls? B girl Wanda. Okay. B girl Maka, right? They won recently.
Freestyle session,
right?
Top Rock Battle.
But their outfit's always fresh. Yeah. And so when they come out doing stuff like this,
it fits. It makes sense, right?
It connects. Yeah. And it's like it's just flawless. It's not. It doesn't look like it's hardly any effort. Yeah. Where you see some other guys and they're constantly like this and that, and it doesn't look as effort.
It doesn't connect.
Hawaiian shirts with Adidas track
pants. It doesn't connect.
And again, I'm not going to tell people how to dress, but all I'm saying is that if you want, at this point in the game, to be the dopest, to have an edge in terms of competition, that helps, man.
It does help. Actually, it helped me at one point. I remember I was doing a battle, and Crazy Legs was judging. And I don't remember exactly what battle he was, but he told me this. He goes, that battle was so close that I left it up to the fit. And he goes, and I had to go over your shoes because them shoes are fire. Yeah. He goes, but the battle was so close that he was like, I didn't know what else to pick apart but the fashion. And I had to go with the kicks.
I can agree with that because I've done that before. But again,
I know a few people that have done that.
But I've only done it because I knew their style was leveled.
So close, yeah.
The skill, execution. I mean, the thing is, when there's certain battles, man, they're so close, man. Yeah. They come down to very, very. A lot of times people think they lost by this one big thing. Yeah. Sometimes it comes to like a very, very small thing.
Yo, speaking of fashion, we got some gifts for you, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So, a raccoon hat, another raccoon.
We're gonna get Beast to bring that out. You know what I mean? We got some gifts for you, bro.
So fashion.
Create your escape gear.
Fashion is important.
Where's the raccoon hat? You didn't bring the raccoon hat?
Raccoon rock.
Yeah, we were hoping you would rock it.
I was gonna rock it, but raccoon rock he comes out on special,
Special occasions?
They'll come out for the anniversary.
All right, cool.
Break for anniversary.
All right. Oh, man. I like that. All right, so we're gonna wait for these gifts. But for most of y'all that are just tuning in, B-Boy Lil John, legendary Texas B-Boy, global icon, fashion fashionista, right? Fashion Nova started because of John.
Fashion Nova.
Nova.
And then this is Mr. Beast Boogie
What's
walking
up,
onto the
Beast?
set.
Champion of iFlow 6 with
Ooh,
Palmer.
baby.
Man.
We got the two newest sweaters.
Now this
right here
is
for
made
you,
in
bro.
2018, okay? This
Some
is not
gear.
made in 94.
I actually had one of these.
Right?
Oh, you got one of those?
I
Right?
just wore it out.
There you go. So you got another one. And when the other stuff arrives, you're gonna get that too. See, these are brand new. Look at that,
You know,
bam.
I rock your stuff.
You
That's
know,
that
man.
compact
Well, we
hat.
got more coming, so you better rock it.
Ooh, you definitely
Just don't put it on Little John's spot.
No,
Yeah,
no.
we don't want to see this for sale later, right?
I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, so fashion, it definitely plays a big role.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely plays a big role in our scene, and I think that a lot of people, you know, for everybody watching, I think that, you know, pay attention to what you wear, because I know growing up in the '90s, like, if I wore a baggier fit, and I think you can attest to this too, if I wore a baggier fit, it made me freestyle different. It made me dance
I
different.
dance more funky if I'm baggier.
And one of the reasons why, like, I break in shorts a lot, why I like breaking in shorts, because it kept me from wanting to bang my knees and wanting to scrape my knees, so it kept me very clean.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the reasons, and and then it just became my thing. Like, I wanted to break that way. And then for you used to like the long sleeves and the baggy pants, and
For sure.
you know, so fashion not only does it make you look good or should make you look good, but it also brings out a different style
For sure.
within your art
So
form.
I'll give this one for free, right?
Ooh.
If you're gonna compete, if the stage is black, don't wear black shoes. Wear white shoes. Wear lighter shoes.
Yeah.
So I always think of it this way: if the stage is light, you know, I'm gonna wear dark shoes, light pants, dark shirt, light hat or beanie,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Mhm.
You know, light shoes, dark pants. So you want to be able to catch accents,
Yeah.
but with the way you dress. And although it seems very very small, not a lot of people do that. I
Yeah.
see guys dancing on that-
White floors, all white fits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
and
I know.
it takes away. And we
Yeah.
know this because of, you know, video and
Yeah,
photography.
exactly.
You know, you want to be able to use, again, in terms of composition, you want everything to work for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it might come down to that. So yeah,
No,
I can agree with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Lastly, man, wanted to just, like, what's going on with you today? Like, you know, like, what do you got going on? You know, do you have any? I know you talked about a secret project, which I think I kind of guessed it,
You
but
know about it. Attentive it. Yeah.
you know, I think I know
Man,
it. That's-
honestly, right now, you know, John is full of a lot of issues, dude. You know, I'm so full of issues that I'm trying to fix. I'm so full of a lot of things that I'm trying to fix in my life in terms of a person, to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better person.
Mm,
And a lot of times that takes time. You
yeah.
know, I just want to grow. I want to grow as an individual, as a believer, and you know, throughout my day, I go through so much.
Yeah.
You know, I go through a roller coaster,
Yeah.
and not many people see that. You know, and so I'm grateful for my wife because she gets to see that. She
Mhm.
sees the real John.
Hmm.
You know, not the John on Instagram or.
Well, that's your accountability
That's-
too. You
that's-
talk a lot about accountability, you know,
yeah,
and that's
and so,
important.
but aside from that, I'm working on a couple of different things.
Yeah.
I started an aerial scouts, which I started last year, which she knew about.
Yeah.
Aerial-
Tell everybody a little bit more
So,
about that.
aerial
Tell them where to follow you and
Yeah,
all that.
so aerial scouts is it's one word, but it's aerial and scouts, and I started that last year, and it's a business. It started out as a drone business
Hmm.
where I would do drone video and photography,
Mhm.
and so from then on, I got into just straight video. My wife is starting to come on board with me, and initially she was doing the video,
That's really dope.
and so
Mhm.
eventually she'll be with me full time, and we'll be doing. I mean, that's what I do full time now.
Yeah.
And we do everything from video, photography, drone video.
Hmm.
So everything from like real estate to work
Events.
with plants, events, private events. So that's one aspect of things. And so we do everything from like editing to, you know, creating your event. Basically,
Yeah.
bring your life,
Yeah.
bringing your event to life.
Recapping the
exactly,
events and
because
stuff. Yeah.
What's the point of having good product, you know, or a good event and there's nothing to show for it?
Exactly.
and,
Which is like 100% of what everybody needs today.
For sure,
Content.
content. And then we can also do social media content,
Yeah.
where we can take full control of your content. Because, for example, at the moment, there's a lot of small businesses.
Hmm.
When I can say small businesses, they have this problem. It's like they want to go to the next level,
Yeah.
but they can't go to the next level because it's like they don't realize they need this part.
Yep.
And so the guys who are already up there, they realize that this outlet, this media,
Yeah,
is needed, and they pay for it.
for sure.
And so it's really just getting these smaller businesses or a little bit higher to realize, hey, we need that, but they just don't have the time to do it.
Right.
They don't have the time to do it because they have to take care of the logistics, the business side, the money side, the marketing.
Yeah.
So we're able to kind of do that part. And then I
That's
also
good.
DJ as well,
Yeah.
which I've been doing a lot of, private events, parties,
Yeah.
that I've been doing. Actually got some corporate stuff coming up
Hmm.
that I've been doing. So between those two, those have been my main things.
But you're still traveling and judging. I saw you post recently that
Yeah.
you're doing Battle Pro. You're judging Battle
Yeah,
Pro,
so
right?
I'm still judging, still dancing. I mean, I'm still always judging. I mean, still always dancing and
Okay.
still judging frequently. But the Aerial Scouts business and the DJing is taking more of a priority, just because breaking for me it's in a weird place at the moment.
Yeah.
My inspiration is a bit different. My
Yeah.
feeling is different.
Yeah.
It's not that I quit breaking or want to quit breaking. It's in a different place for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And just being able to go out and cypher somewhere feeds me.
Hmm.
And thankfully, people still invite me to come out and judge, and
Which they should.
I take it.
Yeah.
So and I'm still relevant in terms of knowing what's going on with the scene. So I don't completely leave.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
not-
I don't think that even if you took a break for 5-6 years, I don't think that anyone would question what you bring,
Yeah.
I remember specifically, like, let's just say Break Free, right? What was it, 2012, 2013 or whatever?
Mhm.
People do not make much noise about this, but you won 2 7 of Smokes back to back.
For
You
sure.
won the 90s edition, right?
For sure.
And then you won one that was combined of like young competitors and 90s heads, but like you won these back to back,
For sure.
like against today's major competitors. Like I want to bring that up because it's like you weren't competing all the time.
For
You
sure.
would enter whenever you could, and you would always get down.
Oh, you had that all blue tracksuit.
But you came in and you just went through it,
Yeah.
And what I remember specifically watching, I remember, I was the organizer of the event, but I remember watching it as a fan and an observer, like,
And those
What-
those lineups was stacked.
no, it was
Top
stacked
competitive.
lineups, right?
Yeah.
But specifically what I remember is that every battle, you just went for every battle per battle. Like, you weren't thinking about the entire competition. You were battling per battle. And
Well,
I think
knew
that,
longevity was my stamina was going to be the major component.
yeah,
That's always been a big thing for me. I mean, my stamina is not where it used to be anymore right now, but at that point in time, that was my mindset.
Yeah.
Just go the longest.
yeah,
And it worked out because I
Yeah.
think there was a few guys that maybe needed 2 more or something.
yeah.
So it worked
And
out.
I remember Lego specifically. I remember
Yeah.
he just gave you a
Yeah,
round.
just gave
Shout
me
out
a
to
round.
Lego.
Yeah. He almost won too. So.
But no, that's cool, man. Any last words that you want to say to everybody watching? Like, if you have any advice.
No, my only advice is keep digging. Keep tuning into the podcast. It's a dope podcast. I'll have to look at the other ones. I haven't had time to look at them, so I've not been hating. I just haven't had time to watch them because I've been, busy with other stuff.
But the rest of y'all haters, tune in.
Yeah, but tune in, and like I said, it's all about learning more.
Yeah.
The more you learn, the more you know, the further you'll get. And I hope that whatever I said can help you guys out. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's
Whoa. No, just
Aerial Scouts. I wasn't even gonna say mine.
Nah,
Aerial-
at
No,
B-boy,
what's it?
at B-boy
Lil
Lil
John.
John.
Is it
Yeah.
Follow.
private? It's still private,
No,
right?
no, it's
Oh,
public.
you made it public?
Public, bro. And you
Yeah.
just started following me, so
He just started following me
Start
too,
following
so
everyone.
don't feel
I
bad
was trying
about
to do the
that.
0
So-
followers thing for a
I
while.
work with him every day.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Can
man.
we-
We
Great time.
Can we battle after this? We haven't battled in a long time.
Sure.
All right, cool.
You see, always down. No, man, we appreciate
For
you.
sure.
I think that you
Likewise.
dropped a lot of knowledge and a lot of different stories that a lot of people want to hear and maybe have never heard or maybe can relate to.
For sure.
So we appreciate you, man.
Much
And
Much love. Thank you, John.
yep,
Great
B-boy
stuff.
Little John, y'all.
Oh,
signing off.
real quick before we sign off, you guys will be hearing a lot more about this, but shout out to Houston Media Source. If you notice a update in our lighting and our video quality, it is all because of them.
Yeah.
These guys have been putting in work since the 90s, and you'll be hearing a lot more about them.
Houston Media Source was the source to the first choral and We
Yeah.
All Fall Down video.
That's where it's edited at.
That's where it
Yeah.
was edited at. So big supporter of us and what Break Free is doing. So shout out to Houston Media Source. Follow them on Instagram as well. Just search their name. It should pop up. So we're
HMS
thankful for
Houston
them.
Media Source.
Word.
Yeah. So much love, guys. This is Break Free Worldwide. See you guys soon.
Peace.
That was good. Let me go take a leak.